Hey tubers, what's up? Today we're going to be working on building a sump for my fuel cell. I bought this old used 17-gallon fuel cell. It was like a draw out the top type deal. It had I'm not real sure the way this thing was meant to be set up. I'm going to drop some pictures in this clip. This thing here has what I believe to be a return tube, but I'm not necessarily sure this fitting was actually a return or it was actually a feed, and this tank here was designed for you to be able to pull fuel up out the tank with, you know, like a lift pump or whatever. But we're going to use it in this application. I'm going to build a hat that drops down in here, and this is the hat right here. It's a real fancy deal. China brand, you know, the American way. This deal right here, I'm not knocking the big boys. It probably, you know, the big boy stuff is nice. I can't knock them. Quality is number one on the list, but when it comes to price, this here's kind of like a budget deal. It's not like I'm building a $150,000 Pro Mod or nothing like that. So this here with two 340 pumps. And on the pumps, it shows that they are compatible for E85. You know, they came with it. This hat alone, name brand, would probably cost you $400 or $500, you know, and this thing is completely solid billet. There ain't one part of it and it's anodized on top of it. I can see all the machine marks where it was cut, and it has an O-ring boss flange at the bottom for leaks. Pretty cool deal. The pumps might be trash, I'm not sure. I'm actually gonna look up, you know, what the procedure is for testing a fuel pump. I know it's something like, most people test them at like, I guess what max voltage, which is 13 point something volts over a period of time, and then they measure the amount of fluid, and you do a calculation on what the pump, you know, is rated at. And then you put it under static pressure, you put it under static pressure and see if it can maintain static pressure with like a pressure regulator. So that's something I can do with the pressure regulator that I have for this truck. I can just kind of remote test them in a bucket or something. That'd be a cool test for China stuff. I don't expect these to break any records or work forever. They are direct duplicates of the pump I want. I was just after this here. This is all I wanted. I wanted this holder. And see, it even has O-rings that holds the fuel pump body, which is pretty sweet. I can put two TI Automotive genuine Walbro 525 Hellcat pumps in this thing. You know, direct, plop them in, done deal. And that's what brings me to this fuel cell. So this fuel cell had a fitting at the back, a Dash 8 that went around, and it had an AEM 400 pump on it. Well, I bought the tank, the pump, the whole shooting match all at one time. So my idea was, it has a lid over here in the corner. Let me stand this thing up so y'all can see it. Or bring the camera up here a little bit closer, that'd be fine. So if you look, you can see it has a lid here, and there used to be like a spout with a cap on it so you can fill it. What I'm gonna do is I made this disc out of some sheet metal scrap, some billet sheet metal scrap I have. I'm gonna build a sump that comes out the bottom that's about this deep enough that the pumps can sit completely down inside this hole. And it even comes with this bung, this ring that you can weld into the top to locate this thing into the top of the pump. Into the top of the tank. Yeah, but if you look, I'm gonna take the pumps off so I don't bounce them across the floor if they fall. You can put the ring on here and then drop the pump down in it. You got about, I'd say, that's roughly 3/4 of an inch, 7/8 of an inch. Before the return, that's actually the return that's built into the adjustable hanger that you can trim off. I'm actually not gonna use it. If you look at the top of it, it'll show you feed 1, feed 2, or outlet 1, outlet 2, and it says return. I'm not gonna use the return on here. I'm gonna use the return that has the tube that goes into the bottom. That way I can kind of maybe help keep aeration out of the fuel system once this thing's under a heavy load. And so my deal with this whole build is this thing will probably in the future, the build is a stock bottom end 5.3 with Gen 4 rods. It's got a BTR cam, BTR springs, BTR trunnion bushing kit put in it. It's got a 4150 style intake. I'll drop a picture in there of the engine. The engine's complete, it's ready to go in, and the transmission's done. The transmission is a Turbo 400 that I built, and it has a Jake's automatic trans brake valve body. You heard me correct. It is a 100% automatic trans brake. You can pull it in drive, get on the brake, let it go, and the governor will shift it. I haven't seen a whole lot of feedback on them, and I know some of the guys back in Pure Stock used them. It was kind of like a cheater, they call it a cheater brake or something like that. Might work fine, might not, I don't know. I got a brand new BTE Pro brake sitting in the box behind me, billet deal, pressure regulator spring, the whole nine. And I'll buy me a nice shifter with an electric or CO2 shift if it comes to that. This Blazer is not, this four-door Blazer is not meant to go that fast. It's got a stock Explorer 8.8 in it. I understand everybody in the comments is gonna scream, oh, you can go 8s and 7s with a stock axle. I don't want to, particularly because I like my life and I like to be safe. And when you're going, 130, 140 mile an hour trap speed, I really hate for an axle to break or to have catastrophic failure and cause me to run this thing into the wall. That wouldn't be fun. So we're gonna keep it into probably the 10, 9 second range. I'd like to keep it so slow that I don't have to have nothing in it but a halo. And that's just me being able to put a halo in it so that, if it did roll over, I wouldn't have to worry about me getting banged to death up into, beat to death in the cab of the truck. The reason why I went with a Blazer to start with is because I'm too small for a Fairmont. I'm just about too big for a Fairmont. I'm too big for a Mustang. I'm just not real comfortable, in those vehicles. So I was like, man, I need something that's like a wagon, but not a wagon. But, kind of, if you look at it long enough, it looks like a wagon. And you don't have to do a bunch of work to it, to make it go. Like having to do extreme, like this Blazer. Let me show you a picture of it. Keep talking about it and you guys can't see it. So this Blazer here, hold on. It is, I think it's a 2000 Blazer, S10 Blazer. So here's simplicity. I literally could have bought a set of Caltrax, eBay throwaway Caltrax. They might have been good, they might have not have been. Or I could have bought real deal Caltrax. And this thing would have been ready to roll honky-donkey in a couple days. Well, I added up what it costs to do it right. I'm saying I'm wanting to go like a 130, 120, I wouldn't say 120. I'd say like a mid 130, 60 foot in this thing on a radial. And I was like, man, you got to have everything to make this suspension work. So you'd have to have both the split monoliths, you'd have to have good shocks to be able to control the back wheel, and then the Caltrax all together, and then all the work goes into putting them on, which isn't really but a bolt-on deal. And then I started looking on eBay, and I was like, I seen this kit you can buy, and I decided, well, it probably, for $135, you just can't beat it. Look how pretty that kit is. Full chromoly 4-link, and I made my own upper shock bar and bought a anti-roll bar kit for it. Yeah, it's it's extreme. Bought these on the Facebook flea marketplace. They were dirt cheap, and bought some rotors off eBay. This cover was like $30. I gave $100 for the rear end. I gave $35 for the cover. $135 for the 4-link kit. The 4-link kit did come with like some cheesy grade 5 stuff, and I swapped everything out to grade 8, all the hardware, which wasn't but like $30. at your local hardware store. And yeah, I should have used fine thread, but I mean, for what this thing's going to be doing, it doesn't matter. And let's see here. I bought some old cheesy cross-drilled rotors, and it came with new pads. And I narrowed it up and put a short side axle, as you've seen in the video that's going to drop before this one will. Narrowed it up. I think it's almost 3 inches, like 2 7/8 of an inch. So there's that. I made a homemade rack and pinion for this thing. I bought like an eBay Pinto rack, split it in the middle, cut the shaft down on the lathe and retrimmed it. And that turned out pretty good. I'll have some more videos on that when I do the front end. I'm kind of torn right now between, do I want to leave the Speedway Circle Track tubular control arms on the top, because that's what I got. And I bought brand new eBay lower control arms for the bottom. Do I want to do that and leave it like that? And, you know, it might work. You know, I don't have much feedback on it. I've been watching some of Old Man's Garage's, like, real old videos where he posted, you know, them using stock stuff with a cut control arm and not having an issue. But anyway, that's not here nor now. And I can cover that later in the video. Team Z makes some really good stuff. That's where I'm getting at with it. I thought about just calling Team Z and ordering, you know, their upper and lower tubular front end control arms, just because they take all the guesswork out of it. You know, it saved me about 50, 60 pounds on the nose, which is a good thing. And, you know, make it to where I can lower this thing down, you know, wherever I want to be at. Because the back is infinitely adjustable. I can drop it down to the floor. I mean, literally, till the tube touches the frame rail, practically. Let me get off this charging cord. So anyway, back to the fuel system. Me rambling. I'm gonna do some time lapse. So this is the disc. I'm going to build a little drop down sump in the bottom of this sail. In the bottom of this sail, it'll be like a little drop down sump. I'm only gonna have it come down far enough that the pump will clear, but there'll be a section that goes up into the tank that still, you know, make the full circle, and there'll be some holes drilled in it and be kind of like a slosh tank. You know, when you hit it, it's already full, the fuel comes to the back. And another thing, I don't have to worry about aeration from this nozzle returning the fuel getting into here, because the holes will be, one will be over here and one will be over here to keep it full. They'll be big, you know, 3/4 inch, 1 inch holes on each side. I might put one here, here, and here on this back corner. Fuel's gonna run to the back, overflow into the top of it, and it's gonna maintain itself through the holes. But when you slam on brakes, you know, like I had, you know, setups in the past, you would be riding down the road, you know, the pump would be quiet, you wouldn't hear anything, and then you come to a stop, fuel would slosh to the front, the nipple in the back here, because I always had external pumps. You'd hear the and the regulator would prime back up, and that was an annoying ass sound. And I tried everything in the world to fix it. I put check valves on it and all that. But speaking of which, this tank came with an AEM 400 pump that's got a check valve. So I'm gonna leave it turned off at all times. I'm gonna be running just on a single 340 pump in this tank to cruise with, and it'll have, you know, fuel on demand. So I'll have it set up in my Mega Squirt to where I can turn on one pump when we're just cruising. When I get up around 5 pounds of boost, it'll flip the other 340 on and maintain fuel pressure. And then when I go wide open throttle, I mean matted to the floor, it'll kick the 400 on, and then you'll have, you know, around 1,000 liters or better an hour of fuel blowing into the, let me see, 400, 3B, 680, and 400. So that'd be right at 980 liters per hour of fuel on E85. And my horsepower goal ain't the 750. You know, ain't but you know, I'm gonna have a video on the turbo, building the turbo kit, the whole nine with this deal. I need to start using my truck as the thumbnail on this video. All right, well, we're gonna do some time lapse later. Okay, so I'm gonna measure, do I need to bring the ring in? No, it doesn't matter. I'm gonna measure the depth of this thing. I could cut this off if I wanted to. This tube doesn't mean anything to me. I'm gonna measure from the bottom of the tank right now, right off the bat, and it is exactly, let me find the middle of it, the lowest point to the highest point. It's exactly 1.25 inches too tall. And I could have done that by just going 7 inches, 8.25. So I'm thinking with the fuel pumps and the sock, I can still trim this back if I don't get it exactly right to make sure that the pumps are spaced properly and off the bottom of the tank, and there's not a lot of problems with, there's not gonna be a lot of issues with the, come on man, get it out. Screen on the bottom of the filter collapsing up against the bottom of the tank, because you want the pumps to be a little bit off the bottom, at least I'd say 1/4 inch to 1/2 inch off the bottom of the tank, maybe, you know, in between there, to assist with it not cavitating, trying to pull fuel up. Relative, you want the sock as close as you can get it so it doesn't fall off, but, and I'm gonna do some research there too. I'm not real sure what that number might be. I don't know, you know, add in the comments, you know, what's the minimum the pumps need to stay from the bottom. This is fully adjustable, so I can just pull the bolts out of it, pop it up, and adjust it down if it's, you know, necessary. But there again, I don't know right off the bat. So anywho, let's get busy. So what I'm gonna do to make this, I cut this disc out. This disc is 7 inches in diameter, circumference. I know that it has to be 1.25 inches off the bottom. I'm gonna give myself another 1/2 inch for good measure. And then I'm gonna add, let's say, you know, you're gonna want, there's a spider. You're gonna want 2 inches sticking out the bottom. And then I'm gonna want, let's say, I'd say 3 inches would be fine. So 3 and 2 would be 5. So I'm gonna cut a 5-inch strip, 7 and some change long. That way I will have a little bit of trim off to get the circle perfect. And then I can TIG weld it to this, drill my holes in it, get everything finished, and then I can drill the hole in this and fit it up, get it kind of where I want it, and then weld it in. Or it sounds good anyway. But here we go. Alrighty. We have our sheet cut, and it's not 7 inches, by the way. It is 1 foot and 7 inches for this sheet to wrap completely around whatever this diameter disc is. It looks like 5 inches. So I'm gonna time lapse me struggling to make this thing work, and y'all reap the benefits of watching. See you in a minute. Okay, if I had to do this all over again, I would just use a 5-inch piece of pipe and be done with it in 20 minutes. But I've already got this far. I just got to finish up the end of it. If I had a sheet metal roller, I'd have been done 5,000 years ago. But anyway, that's it. Welds don't look terrible, but I'll get back to you when I get it finished, which will be here in just a minute. All right, I didn't video none of that because it was just a major pain in the ass, but turned out pretty good for what it is. The next time I will, without a doubt, if I got to spend $100, more than what the fuel cell costs on eBay, I will buy a piece of pipe. But anywho, that's what it looks like. Turned out pretty decent. It's a little bit deeper than what I wanted it to be, but that's fine. And the inside, I made a couple holes at the back. So when fuel sloshes to the very back, you can feel the lines go forward, it'll stay out. But you gotta remember, the tank's gonna stay full 90% of the time. So won't be no big deal there. And I can, without a doubt, guarantee you the weld around both of them is probably gonna leak in one or two places, but we'll fill it up with water and pressurize the tank. It's got a couple places on it where it's been rubbing on something like that. And there's a place over there on the corner and a place right here. But we'll get it figured out. And I'll show y'all some more video here in a little bit of me putting the pumps in. I'm gonna clean the tank up really good. I might make a little sump here at the back or move the fitting down to the bottom where the 400 pump's gonna go. I might actually put a pipe thread bung there, and then buy a fitting that is, you know, 8AN on one side, pipe thread on the other. That way, if I ever monkey up, see how this is monkeyed up right here? Hold up. Yeah, right here. That will get you in trouble. It'll leak like hell. And if you're at a drag and drive or you're somewhere where you need to make a repair, I can put those fittings in a tackle box, you know, practically for $100. A spare of one fitting for everything in the car. If we have a boo-boo, I can fix it on site. You don't have something that's bolted in the tank or welded that you can't do shit with. That's what I like about the fuel pump hat. If I have a pump go bad, I literally can walk into O'Reilly's, buy a, they're like $50 for a 044 to replace the AM400 to get me home if I got to, or I can bring 2 spare pumps with me. You know, a spare pump, maybe just one pump. The odds of all 3 pumps failing probably be highly likely to none. But like I said in earlier in the video, if these pumps prove to be not susceptible to what I need in the requirements that I'm looking for, then I'm just going to toss them anyway and buy 525s or 450s or whatever I can find. But if I do buy a pump, it will be a 100%, you know, OG real deal pump. It won't be China stuff. I just paid that price because I needed the top hat. But you never know. Might put them in there and they last forever. We'll see. The hub dyno proves all. And it doesn't care what your name is. Y'all have a good one. This is it for this video. Appreciate it. Bye. Had a few places on this sump where it leaked, but it wasn't up but a couple pinholes. And I plan on rhino lining the bottom of the tank anyway, so I don't have road debris or rocks jump up and knock a hole in my tank. Here is the lid that has the holes tapped in it for the top of the fuel hat. It came out pretty good considering I didn't do a minimum prep before I welded it. Just say the pulse setting on this thing is absolutely a game changer to welding anything aluminum. Highly recommend using the pulse feature if you possibly can. Here is a picture of all of it together. That is $180 turnkey. I mean, the tank, the hat, pumps, ready to roll. You just cannot beat it. And for the critics that, you know, are going to hit me with USA made, I hate to tell you, but 90% of this stuff that you buy on these markets that's labeled USA made isn't USA made. Not going to call any names. Anyway, here it is wired up really good. And if I could give you any suggestion on where to buy parts from, Monkey Fab Garage is the go-to 100% bang for your buck, closest you're going to get to USA made with a genuine USA guy. Really like the guy over at Monkey Fab. Thank you guys. Like, comment, subscribe. I'll try to get you some more videos.